The sun was barely rising when the Wooyang dandy erupted into movement. Every part of the crew, from the captain, chief engineer, officers, down to the newest ratings, was already busy. That day marked the start of the long-awaited coal loading operation, filling cargo holds 1 through 5. No one expected it to stretch out for nearly 4 days, but that's exactly what happened. Day 1, the orchestra of machines. As the first barges approached, the calm sea transformed into a stage of chaos and precision. Fenders slammed, preventing the barges from scraping the ship's hull. Bulldozers inside the barges pushed mountains of coal toward the grabs. Ship's cranes swung left and right, from starboard to port side, and the giant grabs opened and closed like hungry metal beasts devouring black sand. Some of the Indonesian operators handled the cranes remotely, their fingers dancing across controls with practiced precision. Others were down inside the cargo holds, doing trimming work, balancing coal piles with shovels, bulldozers, or sheer muscle. High above the deck, navigating through dust and noise, was Ismael. He wasn't handling coal, but he was just as essential to the ship's operation. His task: make sure the crane stayed alive. He climbed inside the crane tower, feeling the vibration beneath his boots. He checked hydraulic tanks, wiped dust from gauges, and monitored the oil temperature. He tightened what needed tightening, cleaned what needed cleaning, and made mental notes of potential issues. The first day ended with engines humming, coal dust floating in the air, and everyone covered in a thin black layer of carbon. Day 2, the engine room mission. By morning, the crew barely had time to rest. Barges kept coming, coal kept dropping, and cranes kept moving. The ship had no choice but to match the pace. While the deck was alive with operations, the engine room was another battlefield. "Ismael," the first engineer called out, "we need your hands here." He hurried below. The deeper he went, the hotter the air became. The number 1 main cooling seawater pump needed to be dismantled. Without it, the engine room couldn't maintain safe cooling. Together with the first engineer and the number 1 oiler, he began working on it. Tools clanked, bolts resisted, and sweat poured freely. They removed the motor, disassembled the pump, inspected the bearings, flushed the internal passages, and prepared the motor for overhauling. Hours passed, but the rhythm of work didn't slow down. Meanwhile, above them, coal continued to rain into the ship's holds. By evening, the pump was reassembled, tested, and finally declared back in service. Ismael exhaled heavily. One major job done, hundreds more waiting. Day 3, coal dust and determination. The third day brought no mercy. Coal dust filled the air like fog, coating helmets, gloves, and even the railings. The sound of metal boomed across the deck. Cranes swinging, grabs closing, bulldozers scraping. It was controlled chaos. Ismael returned to the deck with his toolbox strapped around his waist. He walked from crane 1 to crane 4, checking hoses, rollers, hydraulic lines, and electrical systems. Each crane had its own behavior, some smooth, some stubborn, all demanding attention. At one point, an Indonesian operator called out, "Sir, crane 2 grab making strange sound." Ismael rushed over. He climbed up, inspected the grab, and found a hydraulic hose starting to loosen. A few tight turns of the wrench, a quick test, and the grab was back in action. The operator flashed him a grateful thumbs up before swinging the grab toward the next barge. By late afternoon, the trimming inside the holds intensified. Coal piles had to be leveled. Otherwise, the ship's stability would suffer. Trimmers worked almost blindly inside the dusty black cloud, guided by radios and instinct. Through it all, Ismael continued roaming, deck to cranes, cranes to machinery, machinery back to deck. Day 4, the final stretch. The final day felt like the longest. Everyone was exhausted. Even the wind seemed tired, blowing slowly across the dust-covered deck. But they were close. Only a few more barge loads remained. Cranes kept swinging, grabs kept dropping, and bulldozers inside the barges kept pushing the last of the coal. The operation was synchronized like a tired but determined machine. Ismael made one more round of inspections. He checked crane 1, good. Crane 2, secure. Crane 3, minor wear but safe. Crane 4, fully operational. Despite the fatigue, he felt a quiet satisfaction knowing his work kept the operation running smoothly. When the very last load fell into the final hold, the deck erupted in relieved cheers. The cranes slowed. The grabs hung motionless. The bulldozers stopped their engines. And for the first time in days, the Wooyang dandy became still. Ismael walked to the railings, breathing in the mixture of salt air and cold dust. The sun peeked through faint clouds, casting soft golden light over the tired crew. After 4 long days, they had done it. Life at sea is not glamorous, not easy, and never slow. But aboard the Wooyang dandy, Every person, from the captain to the last crewman, did their part. And somewhere in the middle of that noisy, dusty, relentless operation was Ismael, climbing cranes, fixing machines, solving problems, and keeping the ship alive. In the world of coal loading, he wasn't just a worker. He was the quiet lifeline that kept the ship running.